It's the Renegades and the Battlehawks. The home Hawks favored by 5 here at press time. Total sits at 41.5. Forecast looking like a pretty high BAC by the time we kick at 7 Central in St. Louis, especially with the Cardinals playing down the street earlier in the day. So let's take a look at the Battlehawks offense against that Renegades defense first. Story of that side of the ball for St. Louis last week was the drive chart in the first half, which went like this. Punt, 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 field goal. That's not the Battlehawks offense we were supposed to have. In fact, I feel like they are becoming such a rhythm-reliant style of offense that if they get hot like they did in the fourth quarter of this game, they're unstoppable. You get AJ on the same page as some of these receivers, it will take another 64-yard miracle field goal to win it. However, St. Louis probably going to try to go back to what worked last week. So they are a pass-first offense. They would like to establish a run, but the pass has been working more. You can also kind of mix things up and replace that traditional run game with some screens. They had a jet sweep to Blake Jackson. I thought that's a good kind of substitute for a traditional run game. And get more looks to Wayne Gallman and Jacob Sailors through the air, I think is something that Bruce Gradkowski can do. Arlington was not good against the tight end last week. They gave up a few big gainers to Jay Sternberger, Sal Cannella, another guy who comes in that can do the same thing. Also, you think about Jake Sutherland, the tight end for St. Louis. Got to give him some love. 3 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. 8 routes ran. If that's not efficiency, I don't know what is. The Battlehawks offensive line, let's talk about them a little bit. 3.5 sacks given up. They actually weren't as bad as the box score might have indicated on Saturday. They did give AJ plenty of time to create those huge plays in the pass game. We saw him find Darius Shepard scrambling towards the sideline for one, and we talked to Steven about that coming up here. But I was shocked that the Renegades only generated 1 sack against St. Louis. I think most of that is because 1 sack against Birmingham. And most of that is because Birmingham's quarterbacks are so fast with Corral and Martinez and have the ability to get out of the pocket. But I expect the Arlington defense will have more opportunities with a less fleet-footed A.J. McCarron, where they might generate more sacks in this game. At the end of the day, Arlington's defense gave up the most pass yards in the league last week. The Battlehawks wide receiver and tight end room is probably just as deep as the Stallions. So the edge to the St. Louis offense here, they just got to find a way to start faster. That's going to be the key. What worries me for Arlington is if the Battlehawks do catch fire late in this game, that Renegades defense is going to fade the same way they did against Birmingham in the second half. Let's look at the other side of the ball. Renegades O, Battlehawks D. I think I have kind of an unpopular take on this one. If I'm Arlington, I'm starting Lindsey Scott Jr. And the unfortunate downside of that is you have to bench Luis Perez, which is, he doesn't deserve that. I'm not saying bench Luis Perez, but if you want to completely flip the script of this game, go with Scott out of the gate, roll the dice, and see what happens. Hold your breath, because I promise you St. Louis would not be prepared for that. It looked like Bob Stoops and Chuck Long were sort of comfortable getting him in the game. They had him on the first 2-point conversion try. They brought him in on a regular play from scrimmage later on, but it ended up being a false start. I'm just so high on Scott, man. He's really being slept on, and you don't just score 71 touchdowns in 14 games in your last year of college. I think he threw for 4,700 yards on a 70% completion rate. Like, this guy's a winner. It's high risk, high reward, and then if the wheels fall off, you can just go right back to Perez, who looked pretty good when he had to come in for Brett Hundley in relief. So we don't want to waste too much time, of course, talking about things that are probably not going to happen. But when you score just 1 offensive touchdown in week 1 and you're running for 3.3 yards a carry like Arlington was, it doesn't hurt to get Lindsey Scott, your number 1 draft pick, some more game reps and get him ready to make an impact in the UFL. Otherwise, look for Deontay Burnett to show out this week, expecting another solid game from him. Michigan had 14 yards per completion against this very same Battlehawks defense. So Burnett's going to get his. I really don't know what to make of the St. Louis pass defense. They kind of confused me. They only gave up 168 through the air, and a lot of those were explosive plays. They had 2 picks. They got sort of lucky on the one that bounced into Quinterio Cole's breadbasket. Mike Rose is a guy who had a pick last week. He's nursing an ankle, went to the IR, probably not going to play. So I'll give the edge, actually, to that Renegades offense here, only because I didn't see what I thought I was going to see from Pita Talmo-Penu last week. Is Pita going to produce in this one? He only had 1 tackle. Now, Willie Harvey was flying around out there to make up for it, but I still trust this Arlington pass game. I think Javonte Payton is a deadly deep threat. He would have had a few touchdowns last week if Perez could have got the ball to him. You could find Sal Cannella across the middle like you did all last year and get Isaiah Winstead in space. That guy could burn as well. As far as the pick goes, Zook, give me St. Louis, of course, in front of the home crowd. I just feel like Arlington struggled too much on 3rd down defensively, giving up 8 of 12 to Birmingham, and they actually might be missing 2 or 3 starters on defense to injury. So AJ and these guys can really get in a rhythm once they get going. This will be a tight one. In fact, I think it's an up and down affair where both teams will catch a lead at some point. But it wouldn't be Battlehawks football if it didn't come down to the final seconds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's how this game is going to end. It's going to be super tight. We might get a field goal at the end. I'm going to take St. Louis with that game-winning field goal. The offensive line worries me. AJ got pressured a lot. It came early. So is Arlington going to bring the same pressure early and kind of shake AJ? Because that's what I thought would happen. He just didn't look great. And then he finally got comfortable in the 4th quarter and started to make a run. But to be honest, it was just too damn late. So I'm taking St. Louis close.